My name is Ted Burik, and I'm a senior analyst with the U.S. Government Accountability Office. That's a federal agency that resides within the legislative branch of the U.S. government. As a senior analyst at GAO, my duties include project management of our engagements, working on requests from congressional requesters, people in Congress and their staff, put in requests to GAO to do work auditing and reviewing government programs. And my job as a senior analyst and a project manager is to organize that engagement and to conduct the engagement, collecting evidence, writing a report, and publishing that report for both Congress, our congressional requester, and for the American public to review. Interestingly, I got my start at GAO as a result of GAO's efforts at outreach at the graduate level. I was obtaining my Master's of Public Policy at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. This was about 15 years ago. I was doing that as a midlife career change, and at that time, toward the end of my program, GAO came on campus and began recruiting. And I was interested in public service work. It's the reason I went back to college at that time. And GAO was right up my alley, being a federal agency, doing audit work, highly collegial organization from what I had gathered. And they conducted interviews. And as a result, I received the job offer and took the job offer and started work in Seattle in their field office. The things that I enjoy about the job at GAO is that the organization itself is a highly collegial place. The folks that work here are highly intelligent. In most cases, they're smarter than me, or at least I feel that way. They're extremely positive. They're very curious. The working environment is very supportive of this collegial atmosphere. It really requires of me intellectual rigor. I get to use my mind on a daily basis, researching subjects that are very interesting to me and I know very important to the American people, to our federal government. There's also a creative aspect to it in that throughout the engagement period there are decisions that I make as a project manager onto what methods to use to conduct research, what the report format will look like, other methods that we may employ during our writing of the report. And then certainly there's creativity involved in how we write the report, how we format it, what we emphasize, perhaps what we de-emphasize, things of this nature. There is discretion involved, and that provides interest to me too. So between the collegial atmosphere, the creative aspects that I described, and just the intellectual rigor of the place really provide great challenge and a lot of pleasure for me to work at GAO. I have been a musician and playing the bass, the acoustic bass and electric bass, but I started on acoustic bass when I was 12 years old. I am a product of the New York City public school system. And in 1972, in 7th grade, I had passed a music test. They walked me into a music room. There were violins, violas, cellos, and basses. I was one of the taller kids in the class. Said, "You're going to play bass." And lo and behold, within an hour or two, and certainly within the next couple of days of music class, I was actually able to make notes and play little things on the upright bass. So it was a good match, and I've been playing it ever since and have never stopped. So it's been over 45 years of playing. The way I got started in playing and performing, particularly, practicing, playing, performing. I was in the All-City Band, I was in the All-City Jazz Band, I was in the school bands, the school marching band. Once I interacted with other folks in these groups, it then became more of a natural extension to then create other smaller groups outside of the school environment. I started a Dixieland band when I was 14 years old. It was pretty square, but we got a lot of gigs. And then right after that when I was 16, I got into my first rock band, and all the while still playing jazz music at the same time. And since then have always been in a group, in multiple groups. balance it against what my work requirements requirements are during the day. So my performances are probably anywhere from 2 to 6 performances a month. That does not include rehearsals. That could be anywhere from 1 to 4 rehearsals a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. A rehearsal a week for a different group, sometimes multiple rehearsals. And then I would practice, I basically say I practice every day at my home, anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour sometimes. What I like best about performing, to me, over the decades that I've played and performed on stage thousands of times, to me, the performance space is a sacred space. It is entering into an altered space. It can initiate an altered state of consciousness in me as I enter into the creative process. It allows me to connect to other human beings in a very unique way, utilizing music, which is merely just vibrations of sound, to be able to convey ideas and emotions between people. The energy that's provided in the space is light, buoyant, highly energizing. There's a lot of love energy, there's a lot of light, there's a lot of sort of collaboration and creativity that is in that space. It's a space I like to go to every single day if I can. I'm doing anywhere from, and it varies by week, just depending on gigs booked, practices, rehearsals scheduled, and things of that nature, anywhere from 15 to 30 hours a week. On being a well-trained, technical musician, fully versed in reading music, understanding music theory, so that I'm capable of playing lots of different types of music. And if asked to, be in a blues group, I could play blues music, I could play rock music, I can play classical music, and I've performed in all those genres. My preference is for modern jazz, and I do most of my work playing modern jazz, original compositions in modern jazz, and things of that nature. Teenager, as teenagers are apt to feel a lot of angst, depression, anxiety. Music and the focus on performing and interacting, collaborating with my fellow players always centered me, always calmed me, always brought me great joy.